One of the best ways to boost your belief in the law of assumption is through getting to know testimonies and living proofs of it. The stories in Neville Goddard's case histories are perfect for that. In each of these cases, the problem is clearly defined and the way imagination was used to attain the required state of consciousness is fully described. Prepare to be amazed as you listen to their different stories. Number 1. The Soldier Who Imagined Freedom. In 1943, a soldier was tasked to a station in a large camp in Louisiana. However, he wanted to get out of the Army already, but the only honorable way to do it is through applying for a discharge. He needed to get the approval of his commanding officer. So he followed all necessary procedures and applied for a discharge. His application was returned after 4 hours with a mark of disapproval. According to Army regulations, the decision of the commanding officer is final and could not be appealed. The soldier was aware of this, but he was determined to get out of the Army. He turned to his own consciousness and called on the law of assumption. The soldier came to the realization that his consciousness was the only reality and that his specific state of consciousness dictated the experiences he would have. He focused on intentionally applying the law of assumption that evening. He had the impression that he was in his own New York City apartment. He mentally imagined his apartment, visualizing each of the well-known rooms and all of the familiar furnishings as vividly real. Lying flat on his back, he completely relaxed physically as he pictured this scene. He managed to generate a condition that was almost sleep-like while still controlling the direction of his focus. He believed he was in his own room and that he was lying on his own bed when his body was completely immobile. This was a very different sensation from feeling as though he was lying on an army cot. He got out of bed and moved about the house, touching various items of furniture as he went. His hands were then resting on the windowsill as he turned to face the street that his apartment overlooked. He saw the pavement, the railings, the trees, and the well-known red brick of the building on the other side of the street in great detail because everything was so vivid in his mind. He eventually went back to his bed and felt himself nodding off. He was aware that the assumption that he was already what he desired had to be present in his consciousness at the precise moment of falling asleep in order for this law to work. He saw himself returning to his house after being honorably discharged, seeing all the usual surroundings, and dozing off in his own bed every night. His objective experience, which he continued to have every night before going to sleep for the next 8 days, was completely at odds with his subjective experience. On the 9th day, the soldier received instructions from the battalion headquarters to submit a fresh discharge application. He was then instructed to report to the colonel's office shortly after this was finished. The colonel questioned him about his desire to leave the service during the conversation. The colonel responded in the positive, stating that although he personally disagreed and had many reasons not to approve the discharge, he had made the decision to do so nevertheless. The application was accepted shortly after, and the soldier, now a civilian, was on a train headed for home. Number 2. The Boy Who Wished for a Dog. The next story is related to the first one. One afternoon, a grandmother visited Neville Goddard and asked for advice. The grandmother came with her grandson that day. During their talk, Goddard described to the old lady the law of assumption and used the story of the soldier as an example. After the session, both the grandmother and the boy stood up and got ready to leave. As they were leaving, the boy looked up to Neville Goddard and uttered the words, "I know what I want, and now I know how to get it," with so much excitement. When Goddard asked the boy what he wanted, he told him that he had been wanting a puppy for a long time. The boy's grandmother vehemently objected to this, telling him it had been made abundantly clear that he could not, under any circumstances, have a dog. The little boy was too young to properly care for the dog. The boy's parents would not allow it, and the boy's father had a strong disdain for dogs and truly liked having one around. These were just a few of the grandmother's arguments. The child, who was fervently interested in getting a dog, rejected all of these justifications. He said, "Now I know what to do." Every night, the boy claimed, right before drifting off to sleep, he will act as though he already has a dog and that they are going on a stroll. Even yet, the grandma vehemently objected to it. She even vowed that Neville Goddard did not intend for the narrative to be taken in that way. 6 weeks later, the grandma told what she thought was an incredible tale. The boy's desire to possess a dog was so strong that he took in everything Neville Goddard had told his grandma about how to fulfill one's desires, and he implicitly felt that he finally understood how to accomplish so. The child put this notion into action by imagining a dog was laying in his bed next to him for a number of nights. He imagined himself petting the dog and touching its fur. He was thinking about things like playing with the dog and walking it. It took place in a short period of time. A local newspaper in the boy's city put together a unique event in honor of Kindness to Animals Week. Every student in the school was asked to write an essay about why I would like to own a dog. The contest winner was declared following the submission and evaluation of entries from every school. The winner was the same boy who told Neville Goddard, "Now I know how to acquire a dog," in Neville Goddard's New York apartment some weeks earlier. The boy received a lovely collie puppy in a formal ceremony that was covered in the media with tales and images. In telling this tale, the grandmother revealed to Neville Goddard that if the youngster had been given the funds to purchase the dog, his parents would have declined to do so and utilized instead the funds to purchase a bond for him or deposit them in a savings account. If it had been a gift from someone, his parents would have refused it or gave it away. However, due to the boy's dramatic acquisition of the dog, his triumph in the citywide competition, newspaper articles and photographs, as well as the boy's own pride and joy, the boy's parents had a change of heart and decided to give him permission to keep the dog, something they had never thought was possible. All of this was told to Goddard by his grandmother, who concluded by stating that the youngster had his heart set on a certain breed of dog, a collie, that is. So there you have it. These are amazing stories from Neville Goddard's Law of Assumption. There's still a lot to cover about the testimonies on the Law of Assumption. However, one video is not enough for all of them. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more. Let us know if you want a second part of this video. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day.